Here I'm going to look at 3 Speedmasters offered by Antiquorum in Hong Kong, and they're offering them for competitive bidding online 3rd of March 2021. We have a 14502269, we have a 14502271, and we have a 105012, which is not, they don't tell us the date stamp in the back, so we have to make a guess. I do like Antiquorum sales because they always have a large number of watches. There's 322 lots in this auction. In some of the Geneva sales I've been to, there's over 600, and that's a really educational thing to be able to experience, to handle that many watches in one place in one time. And the criticism leveled at Antiquorum is that their watches are not always as carefully curated as some of the bigger auction houses, but frankly they all make mistakes and offer watches that are incorrect. And it's up to us as collectors to learn and be grown-ups and to go in there with knowledge, and don't blame the seller, do your homework. And here we are doing our homework. So we start with the 69. This watch, I'm afraid, does have a few issues, not least of which is it opens with a price that is astronomical for a 69 without a brown dial. $16,750. That's what this is being estimated at the low estimate if you convert it to US dollars and add the 25%. And immediately we can see there's problems with it. That's a dot next to 90 on what is a 28mm serial. And if you look at the dial, I can't see a step in that dial. So we've got a 28mm early 69 with a domed dial and a dot next to 90 bezel with an asking price of $16,750. It's way off base. There's something going on here. And if we turn it over, that's a straight writing caseback, which is not seen on watches until about 31mm serial. In the back we get a great shot of the movement here. If you look, that's a plastic Delrin brake. The plastic Delrin brakes did not come into Speedmasters until about mid-70s. So there's something going on with this movement. The movement number does not match the specification that I would expect to see. Now, perhaps I'm making a grave error and there's something going on that I don't know about, but all I can say is that I'm not buying that watch. Here we have a quick sidetrack off to see the Mark II that's being offered. I have a soft spot for Mark IIs and they fall within my time period, and this one is a very attractive one, and it's estimated in US dollar figures 2.4 to 3.4 plus the 25%, and it's a good one. I like it. If you can look closely, you see the facet down the side is clearly defined and the sunburst finish is all there, and the dial and hands have this attractive colour which may or may not be a relume. You'll have to check, but the price isn't crazy. It's a nice watch. So next we have the 71, and this watch is the cheapest offered here, and 38,000 Hong Kong dollars at the low estimate. If you do the multiplication, add the premium, comes to 6,200 US dollars at the low estimate, roughly. And if we look at the watch at first sight, it seems to be correct in all its specification. It has the stepped dial, and it has the correct shape hands, and it has the dot next to 90 bezel. It's got a few condition issues. The bezel is pretty ropey, and the hands have lost paint where they've been removed and replaced so many times. But the dial itself is quite attractive. There you can see the hands and the paint loss on the hands, but if we zoom out a little bit, you can see that the dial, particularly near the step, has a very slight brown tint. So I have a feeling that this watch may be much better in hand than these photographs suggest. If we look at the bezel, we can definitely see that this bezel is not a great bezel. You can see that the print is slightly blurred, and I wonder whether that's part of the process. Perhaps it's from the end of the run of a particular machine setting or something that allows this sort of slightly blurry writing. So it's not a great bezel, but it never was a great bezel, so it doesn't matter. It doesn't really affect the value. The caseback is the medallion caseback with the engraving as it should be, and if we zoom in, we see that in spite of all those missing paint in the hands, we can't see a lot of evidence of work here. The screw heads don't look chewed up. It's pretty good, and I'm focused in there on the metal brake so that you can compare it with the last one. So it's all about the price on this one. If it goes for that money, it's okay. 71s are hard to get, so this would be one worth considering. So now we go on to the oldest watch that I'm looking at in the sale, and the only 321 caliber. It's the 105012. This reference is unusual in the asymmetric references because it has these very short pushes, unique to this reference. And so when looking at this reference, we always check that it's got the pushes, because if you can't replace them, they're very hard. I've known it, but it's very hard. Which one is it? So if we look at the case back, we can see the single step on the back. It's not a double step, it's a single step, so that's going to be a 66. So then we look at the lug and we see whether or not it has the facet line of the CB case. It does not, and it also has the shape of the HF case. So this is a 66 HF. The pictures offered is this picture is very pink. Now, why is it pink? I don't know. Perhaps they made a mistake. I took this picture and I ran it through my software and took out the pink, and so I think I've got a better idea of what the watch actually looks like, because it's sitting on its extract, and Omega don't issue pink extracts. And so now I'm going to use my photograph to assess this watch more closely. The first thing that strikes me about this watch is that the lume plots are very bright yellow. Now, I have seen this before and it looks quite nice, but when you see a color like this, you've always got to look very closely for evidence of adjustment in the plots, because this color is highly unusual. It's also quite highly prized, and I do see this color coming out of continental Europe quite a lot, and I think it's because they like it. Now, if we go in tight, we see that the plots have this black on them, but they also show no evidence of being repainted to me. So I think the plots are just unusually bright. And also, if you're going to relume a watch, it just doesn't look like this. The plots themselves do show some degradation, some damage, but it's just patination. You can see that some of the lume is lost at the end of the 11 and at the end of the 9, and the 9's a bit shaggy, and then the 8 has lost it on both ends. I don't think this is a relume or adjusted. I'm open to be proved or told I'm wrong, but I personally would buy this as an original lume. So perhaps I'm wrong, but that's what I would do. If we look at the bezel, well, the bezel is a dot over 90, but also look at the color. I think that's a purple or a purple brown bezel. As I said, dot over 90, but if we run up the bezel, we're going to see a lot of problems in this bezel. It looks like it's been through a washing machine or something, but it is this attractive color. And the other thing is that the bezel does seem to match the dial in terms of they're both patinated. They've both been through the wars a little bit. If we zoom in on the dial just to check the body, it's very hard. There might be something going on there next to the print, but there might not be. it doesn't look serious if it is. It's always hard to tell in these auction photographs. You don't know if that's a blotch to the right of the writing or not. If we turn the watch over, we see the pusher necks. That's what I'm looking at here, is the pusher necks. It's another watch without a gasket, by the way. And those 3mm high pusher caps are very important. If we go down through the movement, we see that it's nice and clean. The copper coloured plates and bridges all seem to match each other, so they look like they started life together. And the crown is a little bit short. I'm not quite sure whether that's, for me that's a non-original crown. It's shorter than I'm used to. The pusher necks are quite dirty. They would be if they're original, they're old. So we've seen the case back, and the dust cap is terribly dirty and discoloured, unusual. All in all, I think this is quite an attractive example for the money. I suspect that this watch might be bid, because I'll bet you that in hand it looks good. It's got a nice look to it, a nice patinated character, and as long as the price does not go to the levels of fine watches, it's a good watch to buy. It's complete, has an extract, it is full of character, it has the bezel, which is unusual in the colour, even though it's not a great example of a bezel. And you know, at the low estimate, 8,750, I would definitely consider this watch. Now let's summarize. We have the 14502269 for 16,750, which we're going to ignore. We have the 14502271 for 6,250, which we'll have a go at, and the 105012, which I think is a 66 for 8,750. The second two are worth having a look at if you're looking for a nice patinated Speedmaster that isn't going to break the bank and is usable and that you can wear without being worried. Just to reiterate, all the prices I'm showing you on the screen are my calculations based on the low estimate in Hong Kong dollars, which I've converted to US dollars and added 25% to take into account the premium. If you are going to buy, make your own mind up. Don't rely on me or anybody else. Be responsible, and by that I mean learn as much as you can, and buy what you like and enjoy it. Good luck, buyers and sellers alike. Good luck.